Hi, I'm Matthew Kelly, and it's an honor to be with you today. I hope that you're having a wonderful day in Trinidad. I had hoped that I would be able to be there and be with you at your wonderful Archbishop's invitation, but alas, COVID keeps me here in the United States, but technology brings me to you, and I hope that before too long, I'll be able to join you in Trinidad in person. How's life? How's life? It's something we ask people all the time. It's casual conversation. It's small talk. And we answer very often unconsciously. We don't necessarily think about the question. You know, I'm fine, or not too bad, or great, or whatever. But it's good for us to step back from time to time and really ask the question, how's life? At these times, this journey you've had, these 33 days, has been a chance to step back and think about who you are and where you are and what you're doing and what matters most and what matters least, whose opinions are going to allow to influence your life, and perhaps how you feel called to change as a person, how you feel called to change your life. Napoleon had a famous quote. He said, "Those who fail to plan can plan to fail. Those who fail to plan can plan to fail." I help a lot of businesses in one aspect of my work, and businesses know that if they do not have a plan, they will fail. Businesses know that, and yet many of the best business people don't have a plan for their life. Very often in our own lives, we spend more time, planning a vacation or planning a party than we do planning our lives. And so this journey we've been making over these 33 days is a great invitation to think about our lives a little bit more, to think about our lives a little bit more seriously. And today I want to talk to you about a plan for you, for your bigger, better future. You see, everything in history, everything great in history has been built by people who believe that the future could be bigger than the past. That's why God gives us the ability to dream. He gives us the ability to look into the future and imagine something bigger and better in the future, and then come back into the present and work in the present to bring about that future reality. And that's an extraordinary gift. It's an extraordinary gift. The gift to dream, the ability to dream, is one of God's most extraordinary gifts. And so today we want to dream a little together. We want to plan a little together, together as a community and together with God. And we want the dreaming and planning to be in a couple of ways. I want to talk firstly about you. And secondly, I want to talk about family and relationships. We think about you. Do you have a plan? Who are your role models in that plan? The role model who has been set before us in these 33 days is St. Joseph. St. Joseph, one of the most famous men in history, and yet he speaks not a single word in the Gospels. One of the most famous men in the story of salvation, and yet he speaks not a single word in the Gospels. We have not a single recorded word of St. Joseph. And I think in that we get the whole story of Joseph. We get the whole story of Joseph. He was a behind the scenes guy. He was happy to be behind the scenes, doing what he needed to do diligently to fulfill his mission in life. He wasn't about the fanfare, He was a behind the scenes guy. And God needs behind the scenes guys. I think about my life. I've been on the road essentially for the past 30 years. I've traveled in more than 50 countries. And sometimes people will look at my life and look at the enormous success that I've experienced, and they think it's about me. They think I did it. But it's not true. There have been thousands of people behind the scenes supporting me in big ways and small ways for 1 year, for 10 years. And I never could have done what I've done in the past 30 years without all the love and support of those thousands and thousands of people all around the world. In my personal life, I have people like that as well. Behind the scenes people who help me, who love me, who support me. And in my personal life, I'm called to play that role also. In my personal life, I'm the behind the scenes guy very often in the life of my wife and my children. I'm the behind the scenes guy. You know, I'm working behind the scenes to make things happen, to love them, to cherish them, to support them, to help them grow. There's a great line in the Talmud, the Jewish writings. It says that every blade of grass has its own angel that hovers over it and says, grow, grow, grow. And in many ways, you and I, we are called to play that role in other people's lives. We're called to play that role in the life of our spouse, in the life of our children. If we have elderly parents, we're called to play a behind-the-scenes role there. We have friends and colleagues. You know, we're called to play the role of that angel, saying, grow, 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 and just praying for those people around us to grow and supporting them and loving them so that they can grow. And St. Joseph, he was the epitome of this. He was the pinnacle of this way of life, this way of being, this way of living, this way of loving. He was behind the scenes guy. And so right at the core, what is the one lesson that St. Joseph teaches us? Humility. He teaches us humility. He teaches us to be humble. And it's an uncommon disposition in our culture today. It's an uncommon disposition. You think about the idea that St. Joseph, we don't have a single recorded word of St. Joseph, and then think about the idea of how we're always mouthing off about stuff. You know, I'm mouthing off about stuff. From time to time, I find myself mouthing off about stuff, and I think to myself, what am I talking about? I'm sure you find yourself mouthing off about stuff sometimes, and we're always hearing other people mouthing off about stuff. And what does Joseph teach us? He teaches us humility. There's a great verse in Sirach. It's one of my favorite lines in the Bible. It says, humble yourself, the greater you are, and you will be loved more than a giver of gifts. Humble yourself, the greater you are, and you'll be loved more than a giver of gifts. It's a beautiful line. It's a fabulous line. Because, you know, when we do rise up in anything, you know, the temptation has become pride, to become arrogant, to become, hey, people should serve me. But Sirach advises us, no, the greater you become, the more humble you should be. And the more humble you are, you'll be loved more than a giver of gifts. It's a beautiful sentiment. And fatherhood is a position of greatness. If you're a father, it's a position of greatness. And it's a position, like all positions of greatness, that requires humility, incredible humility. Humble yourself as a father. Be the behind-the-scenes guy, loving and supporting the people in your life. Don't be mouthing off all the time. Humble yourself. Be the behind-the-scenes guy. Really love and support the people that God's calling you to love and support. And you will be loved more than a giver of gifts. And so St. Joseph, he gives us this great gift, this great insight into humility. I want to talk to you in two sections today. First, I want to talk to you about you. I want to talk about a plan for you, Those who fail to plan can plan to fail. And so I want to help you develop a plan. As we come to the end of this journey, I want to help you develop a plan. What's your plan? What's your plan for your life? Is it a good plan? Is it a wise plan? Is it a dangerous plan, a careless plan, a thoughtless plan, a reckless plan? Is it a strategic plan? Is it a plan that you've collaborated with God to put together? Because whatever type of plan it is, we can probably already predict the outcome. You tell me what your plan is. We can probably already predict the outcome. And so maybe it's time to reassess your plan. Come up with a new plan. We talked earlier about our ability to dream as human beings. It's a phenomenal ability. And where do we get this ability to dream from? Well, it comes from God. It's a divine attribute. You see, God has a dream for you. And God's dream for you is that He wants you to become the best version of yourself. God wants you to become the best version of yourself. He doesn't want you to become a second-rate version of somebody else, your brother or your sister or your friends or your parents or whoever. It doesn't matter how good that person is. God doesn't want you to be another one of them. The world does not need another Mother Teresa. The world needs you. The world needed a Mother Teresa, and she came and she accepted God's invitation, and she strove to become the best version of herself, all that God created her to be. And the world was fascinated, absolutely fascinated with this woman. Why? Because there's nothing more attractive than holiness. Francis of Assisi. The world doesn't need another Francis of Assisi. The world needs you. There was one Francis of Assisi. God called Francis to live an incredible life, to become the best version of himself. He tried with all his might to live up to that dream that God had for him. He lived an incredible life. And 800 years later, he's still inspiring people, touching people. Which people? Just Catholics? No. Just Christians? No. Men and women of all faiths. Men and women of all faiths love Francis of Assisi. Men and women of no faith love Francis of Assisi. Why? Because holiness is universally attractive. Universally, everyone's attracted to it. Holiness is universally attractive. And there's nothing more attractive than holiness. And Francis had it. He had it so much so that 800 years later, people can still recognize it. People can still recognize it. And so the thing I want you to be mindful of as we make this reflection together today, as we spend this time together today, I want you to think about something. When I was a kid, my mum would say to me, maybe I'd come down, I've got a shirt on. My mum would say to me, "Wow, Matthew, that color looks really good on you." And that was great. I didn't realize at the time, but my dad supported me in 1,000 little ways like that. What I want you to know tonight is that holiness looks really good on you. Put it on. Give it a try. Try it on. I'm telling you, it looks really good on you. I'm telling you, you've never been more attractive than when you put on holiness. There's nothing more attractive than holiness, and it's universally attractive. I want you to know that. Holiness looks good on you. Generosity looks good on you. Compassion. Wow, compassion looks good on you. Patience. Patience is beautiful. When you see someone being really patient with somebody else, think, wow, that's attractive. That's beautiful. Patience looks good on you. I'm telling you, patience looks good on you. Kindness. Yeah, kindness looks good on you too. So many chances every day to be kind to people. Kindness looks good on you. Social justice looks good on you too. Yeah, justice looks good on people. When we live our lives in a way that is just, it's attractive, looks good on us, looks real good on us. Compassion. A lot of people struggling in this world. We're all struggling in our own way. Everyone you ever meet is carrying a heavy burden. You know, we don't wear signs that announce our heavy burdens. You know, we don't wear a sign that says, I just lost my job. You know, we don't wear a sign that says, my wife just died. You know, we don't wear a sign that says, I just found out I got cancer. We don't wear signs that announce our heavy burdens. But everybody you'll ever meet is carrying a heavy burden. Make no mistake. Everybody you'll ever meet is carrying a heavy burden. And it's important to be mindful of that, because when we're mindful of that, we're gentle with each other. Gentle with each other. And we tend not to be that gentle with each other, unfortunately. But it's important for us to be gentle with each other. It's important for us to be gentle with each other. Gentleness looks good on you. Gentleness is manly. I'm telling you, we think like to be a man is like rough and tough. No. Gentleness, that's a manly thing. It's a beautiful thing. It looks good on you. Compassion looks good on you. Courage looks good on you. And so what I want you to know is that holiness is possible. Holiness looks good on you. All of these virtues that make up holiness, they all look good on you. And the world needs that. You need that, and the world needs that. And I want to encourage you toward that tonight. And we'll talk about how and why and that sort of thing. But the basics of anything always reveal so much. I grew up in Australia, so I grew up playing cricket. And I live in America now, so I see baseball and football. It doesn't matter what sport you study, which team wins. Not the team with the most spectacular play. The team that masters the basics. The team that masters the basics and is the best at the basics every weekend, week in, week out, every weekend, they just master the basics. That's the team that wins all the time, every single time. And so it's important for us to ask ourselves, what are the basics of life? What are the basics of living a spiritual life? The basics of life, the fundamental building block of life is choices, decisions. Life is choices. You know, we are sitting where we are, who we are, the situations we've got right now because of choices we've made. Now, yes, sometimes unexpected things happen in life, unpredictable things happen in life. Things happen to us. But most of the time, you know, we're making choices that determine the direction of our lives. And even when things happen to us, unexpected things, unpredictable things, they happen to us, we still get to choose how we respond to them. We still get to choose how we respond to them. So life is choices. And you and I, we make hundreds of choices every single day of our lives. We make hundreds of choices every single day of our lives. The question is, how do we make those choices? Are we making good choices? Are we making bad choices? Our culture says there's no difference, right? Whatever you want to do, your truth is your truth. You do what you want to do, I'll do what I want to do, that sort of thing. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. Even the village idiot comes to the conclusion that Mother Teresa made better choices than Adolf Hitler. We have to stop falling for this cultural nonsense. Some choices are better than other choices. Some choices are right. Some choices are wrong. Some things are good. Some things are bad. Everything isn't black and white. Everything isn't black and white, but some things are. Some things are, and you know when you're making a good choice. You know when you're making the right choice. And so learning to make great choices is critically important to our success at anything in life. But who will teach us to make great choices? One of the things the Gospels try to do is teach us to be good decision makers. You see, God wants you to become a phenomenal decision maker. He wants you to become a phenomenal decision maker. Not a good decision maker, not a mediocre decision, a phenomenal decision maker. If you've got children, think about this. If you've got children, how much would you worry about your children if you knew they would always make phenomenal decisions? If you knew your children would always make great decisions, how much would you worry about them? Right, not much. Not much. If you want that for your child, imagine how much more God wants that for you as his child. God wants you to become a phenomenal decision maker. And so we have to learn how to make decisions. Unfortunately, these are the things we are not taught in school. These are the things our culture doesn't teach us. How to make great decisions. Well, we're talking about God's dream for us. God wants you to become the best version of yourself. So how do we make a great decision? By choosing the best version of ourselves in each moment of each day. You know, there are times today when you were the best version of yourself and you know you were the best version of yourself and you chose that best version of yourself and you celebrated that best version of yourself. And that looked really good on you. Wow, that looked good on you. And you felt good about it and you felt good about yourself and you knew you were contributing to the world. You knew in that moment, even if just for a moment, you knew you were the best version of yourself. And that's the thing of beauty. I had moments like that today too. But I had other moments. Yeah, I had other moments. I had moments when I was not the best version of myself. I was not the best version of myself. I was grumpy. I didn't sleep that well last night. I was a bit grumpy with my wife today. I was a bit grumpy with my kids today. I was a bit grumpy with the people I work with today. I was not the best version of myself. And I knew that. I knew while it was happening, I knew I wasn't choosing the best version of myself. I was too lazy. I was too lazy or too selfish or too I don't know what. And you know what? It didn't look good on me. I'm telling you, it did not look good on me. Every moment, every day, you and I, we choose between the best version of ourselves and some other second-rate version of ourselves. Life is choices. You're making them all the time. Want to change your life? Change your choices. Have you made choices in the past? Absolutely. Are some of them still dogging you? Probably. That's true for us all. But don't let your past rob you of your future. Don't let your past rob you of your future. Start making great choices today. Don't wait till tomorrow. Don't wait till next week. Start making great choices today. And when you make that great choices, think about it. Be conscious of it. Have full awareness of what's going on. You make a great choice no matter how hard it is. You make a great choice. Think about it. What does that feel like? Telling you, your heart gets all warm, you know? Your soul glows, your heart glows, your soul glows. It feels good. It looks good on you. I'm telling you, it looks good on you. You have a lightness about you. There's a joy to you. There's a glow to you. Being the best version of yourself looks good on you. All you got to do is choose it. One moment at a time. One moment at a time. So 3 things. God has a dream for you. He wants you to become the best version of yourself. Number 2, life is choices. God wants you to become a phenomenal decision maker. Number 3, I want to talk to you about the 10 minutes a day that will change your life forever. How do I know? Well, it happened to me. I've been talking about it for 30 years. It's changed so many people's lives. I know it works. I guarantee it works. It works. 10 minutes a day. What's the origin of this? Well, I was a kid. I was probably, 14, 15, somewhere around then. Maybe a little younger. And a friend of mine said, why don't you stop by church on the way to school each morning and just sit there for 10 minutes and spend 10 minutes in prayer? I thought the guy was nuts. I remember thinking, this guy is crazy. Sit in church on the way to school. I had to walk past school every day. When I was walking to school every day, I had to walk past the church every day. So I had no excuse. Not like I had to go out of my way. It was right there. I ignored him for a while, and I saw him a few weeks later, and he's like, you started stopping by church for 10 minutes? Nah, I've been real busy. He said, it'll change your life. He said, it will change your life. He said, you will be happier than you've ever been. It will change your life. A few more weeks went by, and finally, I think my life was, something was happening. I was unhappy about something. I stopped at the back of church. I sit way up the back, just sit there for 10 minutes, think about my day, plan my day. Didn't pray, didn't talk to God, just sat there. But I got to tell you, I started to feel peaceful. I felt pretty peaceful. I felt like, all right, I got a plan for the day, let's go. I came back again the next day, planned my day, felt really peaceful. Did this every day for weeks. And then one day, it occurred to me that, planning your day isn't really prayer. And I had something going on in my life. I had some sort of problem I was dealing with, decision I needed to make, dilemma. And I just remember turning to God and say, all right, God, I got this problem. This is the situation. These are the circumstances. God, what do you think I should do? And that question, stumbling over that question, changed my life forever. I call it the big question. God, what do you think I should do? You see, usually when we've got a decision to make, we ask just about everyone who knows just about nothing what they think we should do. Instead of going to the person, instead of going to the guy who's got all the answers to all the questions, we ask all these other experts in nothing what they think we should do. And I remember sitting there in church and turning to God and say, all right, God, I got a problem. This is the situation. These are the circumstances. What do you think I should do? And that question, it changed my life forever. It changed my life forever because finally I turned to the great advisor, the great consultant, the great counselor, the great tour guide in life, the divine architect, and little by little, I began to feel God guiding me. I asked the question more and more, God, what do you think I should do in this situation at school? What do you think I should do in this situation at work? What do you think I should do in this situation with my girlfriend? What do you think I should do in this situation at home with my brother, my parents? God, what do you think I should do? Question changed my life, and I kept coming back 10 minutes every day, 10 minutes every day. And that 10 minutes changed my life. You're a human being, okay? There's a physical aspect to you, and there's a spiritual aspect to you. And you cannot live a full life unless you take care of the spiritual aspect. You cannot live a great life, a full life, a rich life. You cannot flourish as a human being unless you feed your soul. And so you got to work out how you're going to feed your soul. And there's lots of ways to feed our souls, and our souls need lots of different types of food. But one type of food that we need silence, we need solitude, we need a few minutes each day to sit with our God and ask God for his advice on who we are, who we've been, who we're becoming, the choices that are ahead of us. We need God's guidance and counsel. We need his wisdom. We need his wisdom because surely that should be one of the goals in our lives, to live a life of wisdom, to make wise choices. Surely that should be one of the goals of our choices, to make wise choices. So 3 things. God has a dream for you. He wants you to become the best version of yourself. Number one. Number two, life is choices. You're making choices every single day of your life. They're helping you become the best version of yourself, or they're causing you to become a second-rate version of yourself. Number three, 10 minutes a day in the classroom of silence. If you can stop by church, great. If you can't stop by church, find yourself a quiet place where you can be quiet, where you can be alone, where you can be with God and begin this great collaboration with God on your life. He's got a plan. Work out what the plan is, and incredible things will begin to happen. Number four, I want to talk to you about your diet. Not your food diet, your content diet. Yeah, I want to talk to you about your content diet. When I first started speaking 30 years ago, I used to say to people, give me a list of the books you are going to read in the next 12 months, and I will tell you how your life will change in the next 12 months. The reason I believe this so much was because we become the books we read. We become the books we read. It's not just entertainment. It's not just academic. We become the books we read. 30 years ago, the main content that people were consuming was books, newspapers, things like that. But today, the content we consume has changed. We're consuming content all the time in our lives. A lot of it comes through cell phones or computers. And most of us have a very unhealthy content diet. If you think about the content you're developing, if you think about the content you're experiencing, the content you're consuming, if you become more and more like that content every day, will you be the best version of yourself? Or will you be a second-rate, lesser version of yourself? If you had to live for the rest of your life in your favorite TV shows or movies, would that be good for you? Would that be good for your soul? Would that help you become the best version of yourself? Bring you closer to God? Be great for you and your family? If you had to live in your favorite TV show, what would that do to you? You see, the content we consume, we become. As a kid, my dad used to say, garbage in, garbage out. Hated it when he said that. I hated it when he said that. You know why? Because I knew he was right. I knew he was right. Me and my brothers have 7 brothers, 8 boys, no sisters, living in Sydney, Australia, watching some rubbish on the television set. My dad would come in, he'd be taking the dog out for a walk or something, and he'd just say, listen, boys, garbage in, garbage out. You see, we become the garbage we consume, and we're consuming a lot of garbage when it comes to content. And so the fourth thing, I want you to think about 4 things. Fourth thing is, I want you to think about the diet of content that you're consuming at this time in your life. Because if you want to put together a great plan, if you want to change your life, if you want to allow God to change your life, if you want to become a better version of yourself, if you want to live life to the fullest, if you want to flourish as a human being, you have to take a look at the content you're consuming, because this content will have a massive influence on the choices you make. This content will have a massive influence on how you spend that time in prayer and reflection, what's on your mind when you go into that time in prayer and reflection. This content will have an enormous influence on what you believe to be important. And most likely, most of the content in the culture is not helping you become the best version of yourself, is not helping you flourish, is not helping you live life to the fullest. And worse than that, is probably having some very, very detrimental effects on you as a human being. So I said I wanted to talk to you about 2 parts. First part, you. Second part, family. Napoleon's quote, those who fail to plan can plan to fail. It's true for your life, and it's true for our families. But very often we don't have a plan. Very often we don't have a plan. Maybe you're a parent. Maybe you'll be a parent one day in the future. Whether you are or you're not, we're all part of a family. And so I want to talk to you about a handful of things that affect families. The first thing is there's a purpose to family. Just like there's a purpose to you, God has a dream for you. God has a dream for families. You know, God wants a family to help each other become the best version of themselves. Are you helping the people in your family become the best version of themselves? Or are you, worse than that, are you not helping them? Are you causing them to become lesser versions of themselves? Number one, God has a plan for families. There's a purpose for families. He wants you to help each other become the best version of yourself. What's your vision? If you have children, what's your vision for your family? What's your vision for your children? Parents will often come to me and say, my son this, or my daughter this, or what advice do you have? I always have the same advice for them. I say to them, go away and write down, depending on how old your child is, but go away and write down 2 or 3 sentences that describe how you want your child to be when your child is 15, how you want your child to be when your child is 21, how you want your child to be when your child is 35, and how you want your child to be when your child is 50. Write down, describe your child in each of those ages, just 2 or 3 sentences briefly. And then come back and let's talk about it. Every time a parent does this, the same thing happens. What happens? Do they describe the average 15-year-old? No, they do not. Do they describe the average 21-year-old? No, they do not. Parents don't say, I just want to have the average 15-year-old. When my daughter's 15, I just want her to be like the average 15-year-old. Parents don't say, when my son's 21, I just want him to be like the average 21-year-old, like all the other 21-year-olds. No. We want our children to be uniquely themselves. We want our children to be uniquely themselves. But what does that mean? What does that mean? Our vision for our children is countercultural. Our vision for our children is countercultural. If we don't want our children to be like the average 15-year-old or the average 21-year-old or the average 35-year-old, what we're essentially saying is we want our children to be uniquely themselves. We want our children to be separate from the culture. We want our children to be countercultural. They may be in the culture, but we don't want them to be slaves to the culture. We don't want them to be swallowed by the culture. We want them to be uniquely themselves. And that's a beautiful vision. To have that vision for your children is a beautiful vision. That's an extraordinary vision. But here's the thing. Where are they going to learn that? Where are they going to learn that? How are they going to learn to be countercultural? Because the culture's strong, right? Wow, the culture is powerful. How are they going to learn how to be countercultural? The next question is an uncomfortable question as a parent. I find it an uncomfortable question. The question is, what in your life is countercultural? Could you be convicted by a jury of your peers of being countercultural? And if we had to put a case together to prove that you were countercultural, what would we use to make that case? In what ways are you countercultural? Because if we are not countercultural, in some ways, I'm not saying being crazy, I'm not saying being the weirdos, I'm not saying that. I think you can be countercultural in ways that are beautiful, in ways that are attractive, in ways that look really good on you, and that are beautiful and attractive to your children, so your children realize, wow, that you don't have to go with the culture all the time. It's better not to go with the culture all the time. They have to learn that from you. They have to learn that from you and me. And so we have to ask ourselves, how are we living a countercultural life? What aspects of our life are countercultural so that our children can see that counterculturalism and say, it's okay. It's okay to disagree with my peers sometimes. Just because all my friends are doing something, I don't have to do it. It's okay to disagree with the culture sometimes and be uniquely myself and be the best version of myself. It's okay. It's okay. But it brings us into a conversation that I think is critically important for parents. And we're talking about Joseph, and I know that most of my audience today is fathers and men. And it brings us into, I think, a very important conversation about culture. Is the culture having a positive effect on us as individuals? Is the culture having a positive effect on marriage? Is the culture having a positive effect on family? Is the culture having a positive effect on our children? I think most of us fairly quickly come to the conclusion that it isn't. But if I didn't raise the question today, we probably wouldn't be thinking about it. It might cross our mind from time to time when something extreme happens. We think, wow, things are getting out of control. But the reality is, as a man, as a father, as a parent, you're in a cultural war. You are at war with the culture. What the culture wants is the opposite of everything that is good for you, everything that you want for yourself, your marriage, and your family. And the easiest way to lose a war is not to know that you are in a war. If you're in a war and you don't even know you're in a war, you are absolutely going to lose that war. And most people and most parents and most families are losing the cultural war because they have no idea they are in the midst of a war. And so they're being slaughtered. They're being slaughtered. Our marriages are being slaughtered. Our families are being slaughtered. Our children are being slaughtered by the culture. Because most of the time, we're not even aware that we're in a war. So if you want to win a war, the first thing you got to know is, I am in a war. If you want to win a war, second thing you got to know is, who is your enemy? Who's your enemy? The culture is not your friend. Okay? The culture is not your friend. Most of the content the culture produces is not your friend. Social media is not your friend. These things are not going to help you become the best version of yourself. They're not going to help your children develop a unique sense of self so that they can go out into the world and live lives bold and free and strong. Culture is not your friend. Culture is not a friend of your marriage. The culture is not a friend of your family. And the culture is not a friend to your children. The culture is an enemy. And it is critically, you want to win the war, you want to win the cultural war for you, yourself, your marriage, your family, your children, you got to know that the culture is one of the enemies, and it's a big enemy. It is a formidable enemy, and it will crush you unless you realize it is an enemy. So the third thing, you want to win a war. One, got to know you're at war. Two, need to know who your enemy is. And three, you got to develop strategies to defeat that enemy. You got to develop strategies to defeat that enemy. And so if culture is an enemy that needs to be defeated, we've got to develop strategies to defeat that enemy. Now you might say, oh, culture's too strong, culture's too big. We can't do anything about that. That's fine. That may be true. I don't believe it's true. It may be true. But what I do know is true is that you can win the war for yourself. You can win the war for yourself, for your marriage, for your family, and for your children. You can win that war. I know you can. You got to decide that it's important, that it matters. But then I'm confident you come up with strategies that help you win that war. Some of the strategies we've already talked about. Embrace God's dream for you to become the best version of yourself. Teach your kids about that dream for them to become the best version of themselves. Make great choices. Great choices defeat the culture every day. Make great choices. Be a great choice maker. Spend that time, 10 minutes a day in a classroom of silence. connecting with God so that he can advise you, he can consult you, he can direct you, he can guide you, he can say, hey, that's a pitfall. Be careful of this in the culture, be careful of that in the culture. And content. Content is the culture's major weapon. Content is like, the content of the culture is like a nuclear war on you, your marriage, your family, and your children. But we expose ourselves to it all the time. We expose us, it's destroying us. It's destroying you, your marriage, your family, your children. This content, but we take it in anyway. We've got to start thinking on a different level. We've got to start thinking on a different level. You have a dream for your children, for your family. What is that dream? You want your children to become the best version of themselves. Where'd you get that dream from? Why does every parent have the same dream? Every parent, they might not use those words, but if you ask a parent, what's your dream for your child? They'll say that in some way. Whatever the words are, you dig into it. What are they really saying? I want my child to become the best version of herself. I want my child to become the best version of himself. Where do we get that dream from as parents? Because it is the divine parental dream. God, as Father, has this dream for you and me to become the best version of ourselves. That's why it's our dream for our kids. That's why we want them to become the best version of ourselves, because we got that dream from God. It is the divine parental dream. The divine parental dream. And so when your kids come to you and ask you, hey, can I do this, Dad? Or can I have that, Dad? Ask them. Will that help you become a better version of yourself? They know. They know straight away. Why? Because the dream's in them. You don't have to shove the dream down their throat. You have to force the dream on them. The dream's already in them. God already placed the dream in them. All you have to do is draw it out. Draw it out. That's what education is. Education comes from a Latin verb, educare, which means to draw out. Education, when it's at its best, it's just bringing out, it's just drawing out the best version of a person. It's a beautiful thing. And as parents, we have a role as educators to draw out the best version of our sons and our daughters. So, where do we start? One moment at a time, one choice at a time. We talked about holiness earlier. Big question, right? Big topic. People think, it's impossible. Holiness, Francis of Assisi, Mother Teresa, that's not me. Wrong. Holiness is possible for you. I can prove it to you. I can prove it to you. If I say to you, go out tomorrow and create one holy moment, not a holy day, not a holy hour, not a holy month, one single holy moment, one holy moment. You say to me, well, what's a holy moment? I say a holy moment is a moment where you open yourself up to what God wants. You open yourself up to what God wants. You turn to God and you say, God, I'll do whatever you want me to do in this moment. You set aside what you want to do, set aside what you feel like doing, you set aside self-interest. You open yourself up to God. You say, God, whatever you want me to do in this moment, I will do it. And you do it. That's a holy moment. And that's what the world needs. The world needs holy moments. The world needs holy moments. Trinidad needs holy moments. Your local community needs holy moments. Your marriage needs holy moments. Your family needs holy moments. The world needs holy moments. It's the only thing that will change the world. We need to stop looking for worldly solutions to spiritual problems. I say it again. We need to stop looking for worldly solutions to spiritual problems. What does the world need? The world needs you and me to create holy moments. What did Francis do? What did Ignatius do? Teresa of Avila, Mother Teresa, what did they do? They created holy moments. As many as they could, they just kept creating holy moments. And they captured the attention of the people of our age. They fascinated the imagination of the people of their age. Because there's nothing more attractive than holiness. And I'm telling you, holiness looks good on you. Holiness looks good on you. So get out there and start creating holy moments. Get out there and start creating holy moments. The last thing I want to share with you today. We've been reflecting on St. Joseph. And we ask ourselves, okay, what is the one thing that made St. Joseph extraordinary? Incredible. What was the one thing that made St. Joseph the perfect man for the job? You know, to take care of Mary and to take care of Jesus. It's a big job, you know. I think it's a big job, take care of my wife and kids, but taking care of Mary, Mother of God, and Jesus, the Messiah, that's a big job. You know, so when God was looking for somebody, he was looking for somebody for this job. Why did he pick Joseph? Why did he pick Joseph? Did Joseph have 100 qualities? No. One quality. One quality is the only thing God ever looks for in a person when he wants to send them out on a great mission. One quality. You look throughout history and you look at the people God chooses. You look at the people God chooses to do incredible things, amazing things. God never chooses the people you and I would pick. He never chooses the most likely people. He chooses the most unlikely people. He almost never chooses the best educated people. He almost never chooses the people in positions of power and authority. He almost never chooses the people who have worldly status and all this sort of thing. Who does he choose? He always chooses people with one quality. Availability. Availability. God chooses the people who make themselves available to him. And he does astounding things with these people, just like he did with Joseph. That's all Joseph did. He made himself available to God, okay? He made himself available to God. But not 10% or 25% or 87%. Joseph made himself 100% available to God. And wow, look what he did. Look what he did. You look at all the great people who've done anything great in history. That's why God chose them. They made themselves available to him. And so the question I leave you with is this. How available are you to God at this time in your life? How available are you to God at this time in your life? 20%, 50%, 87.5%, 93.7%. And why are you holding back? Why are you holding back from God? And where is the wisdom on holding out on God? Where is the wisdom in that? And what's the risk? What's the risk? What's the danger of making yourself 100% available to God and seeing what happens? And seeing what happens. Because let me tell you, you make yourself 100% available to God, you better hold on because something incredible is about to happen. It always is when someone makes themselves 100% available to God. You want to make yourself 100% available to God, you come to God, you pray a prayer of transformation. You come to God and you say, all right, God, everything's on the table. I'll do whatever you ask me to do. Take what you want to take, give what you want to give. I'm 100% available. Transform me, transform my life, lead me, guide me, direct me. I'm 100% available. You pray that prayer, you better hold on. I'm telling you, you better hold on. Because that is a prayer that God never ignores. That is a prayer that God answers every single time. What does Joseph teach us? He teaches us that when we make ourselves available to God, incredible things happen. He teaches us that when we make ourselves available to God, incredible things happen. And that's what consecration is about. Consecration is about making ourselves available. Not 10%. It's about surrender. It's about a total surrender, a complete surrender. Make ourselves 100% available to God. And allowing God to work in us and through us to bring about incredible things in this world. God bless you. It's an honor to have the opportunity to speak to you. I look forward to visiting you in Trinidad before too long. And I hope you have a wonderful day.